Welcome to the Building Up Women in Property podcast. I'm your host, Rebecca Bangura, and I'm thrilled to have you here with me today. This podcast is for ambitious women who work in property and construction who want to learn how to have a career they love on their terms. Join me every week where I'll leave you excited and confident to take your next steps. Thanks for being here with me. Now let's get started. Good morning, lovely. It is great to have you here with me today. And today I want to talk about you being a screw up. Now, it sounds silly, but this is something we need to talk about because I see so many amazing, talented, capable women being held back from stepping into leadership roles or making that next move in their career because they are scared of getting it wrong. They are scared of being a screw up. And I get it, right? We've all been there. We've all hesitated because we don't want to be perceived as a failure. But there's a really important flip side to that, and that is we do not get good at anything by thinking about it, right? Clarity comes from action. Skill comes from practice. Knowledge and insight comes from experience. And the only way to get that experience is to be there, to actually get your hands dirty and do the work. And I think we need that reminder. For most of us, we cannot progress in our careers by being purely academic. Of course, unless you are an academic, and then that's a little different. But the truth is we get better by doing. And so we need to actually put ourselves in the situations where we're doing things, where we are getting exposure, we are getting that experience, we are getting those reps in so that we can get better and better. And that often means that we need to put ourselves in situations that feel uncomfortable, where we feel vulnerable, where we feel unsure of our skills and our abilities in order to figure it out and in order to actually see what we are capable of and where we need to grow and where we need to improve. And so my invitation to you today is to really think about the concept of failure and challenge yourself to start embracing failure as an opportunity to be great. Because I don't think any of us can be great at anything unless we put ourselves on the line and unless we are willing to fail, unless we're willing to be brave enough to screw up and learn the ropes and get good at something. That is the only way we become really amazing at anything. We have to go through that growth process. And there's a great quote from Winston Churchill, which is, success consists of going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. And so I also want to talk to you about how do we do that? How do we maintain the enthusiasm when we feel like we are wading through mud to get better and going on that growth process? And I want to talk about that. How do we maintain enthusiasm? Because quite often the failure part, it feels like trudging through mud. It feels horrible. But it is a necessary part of growth. And for anyone that's aspiring to move their career forward and to be a leader and to make waves in their industry and to be a voice that is respected and sought after, we need to be okay with not knowing everything. And we need to trust ourselves enough to go through the growth process. And that requires failure. And so I want you to really think about, what is it that you want? What is your impact in the world going to be? What do you want from your career? And get as specific as you can. Think about it in terms of not only impact, but what do you want to earn? What status do you want in your industry? Do you want to be a GM, a director, an owner, a CEO? Think about that and think about what the possible pathway to that is, right? What are all those steps? And think of it almost as a staircase, right? There's a step that you need to take to get to that next level, and it keeps going. But in most cases, you don't just jump from the bottom floor to the top floor. You have to do all the layers in between. And we need to be constantly pushing ourselves and growing to get better and then building on that to take that next step. But wherever you are right now, I want you to think about what is stopping you from taking that one next step. Like, what is holding you back for going for that promotion? What is holding you back for putting your hand up for that project? Why aren't you doing it? Why haven't you done it already? What is the conversation that's going on in your own head that is keeping you where you are right now? Because we all have these conversations in our own head. Like, we all have this internal dialogue. Some of us are better tuned into it than others. But tuning into it is so important because once we realize this conversation is happening, we can start to take more ownership and control of the thoughts. And we can start to reason with our own brain to keep pushing us and moving us forward and getting us unstuck. And that's what I really want you to think about. What is that internal dialogue that has meant you haven't already gone for that promotion? You haven't already stepped into that next role. And actually think about this, right? Get a pen and paper, give yourself 5 minutes and just write down all the reasons. And once you've done that, look at the reasons, right? They're going to be some version of not wanting to look stupid, not wanting to get it wrong or screw up, or not believing you're capable of achieving it, right? They're going to be the flavors to all of the reasons that are holding you back. So think about which one is most prevalent for you. Is it that you don't have the self-belief that you can actually do it? And if so, I want you to think about this. Successful people do not start off being successful people. They learn how to do it. They learn what they need to know, and then they practice and they get better. And it's all about a growth mindset. And the only way to have a growth mindset is to do the work. It is to try something and say, I don't know how to do this yet, but I'm going to figure it out. And then keep going until you do. And the truth is anyone can do anything if they put their mind to it. And if they have enough gumption to actually go out and make it happen. Right? Results come to people that are persistent, the people that have their own backs and they go for it, not the people that are sitting there waiting for the perfect opportunity to land in their lap. It doesn't happen for people that are waiting to be tapped on the shoulder with the perfect opportunity for them. That's not going to happen. That's not how the real world works. So if you are waiting to be recognized in order to take that next step, I really want you to check in with yourself and move from a position of being reactive, waiting for that opportunity to come to you and then you reacting, to being proactive. Own the next steps, own your career, own the results you get in your life. Be proactive. Decide what you want and then practice cultivating the self-belief you need to step into being that person who gets that result, right? So decide that you want to be the boss, right? So decide that you want to be a leader and then start practicing it. And the more and more you practice, the better you'll get at leading. And the more you will actually embody that identity. You will start showing up as a leader even when you're not thinking about it. It will start to be who you are. You will really embody that. And that requires just a glimmer of hope that it is a possibility for you, right? You don't have to believe 1,000% that you can be the CEO of a big construction firm or whatever it is you aspire to do. You don't have to believe that 100%. You need to believe it enough to take action, right? So let it even be a little glimmer of what you would like to do, of possibility for yourself and your future. That's enough. Hold on to that and let that propel you forward. Do not wait until you have complete self-belief because it's never going to happen. Even the people who are in top leadership roles have self-doubt and question their abilities on the daily, right? It's part of the human experience. And the sooner we accept that, the sooner we can move through our own self-doubt and really push forward and start taking risks and start showing up on court and taking the shot.
I hope you've been enjoying the episode. I wanted to take a moment to let you know about my free Career Confidence Masterclass. This is for ambitious career-orientated women who are ready to stop playing small and to confidently create a career you love. Head over to my website, beautifuldisruptions.com, for more info. Now let's get back to the episode.
Okay, now if you have one of the other flavors, right, with your concerns, if you're getting held back by not wanting to look stupid, then you are stuck in the thought of, what are other people going to think of me? And I have good news and bad news here, right? The good news is that people are going to judge you. People are going to think you're stupid when you screw up. People are going to say things that you don't like, and they are going to think things that you didn't wish were true. But here's the good news. People are going to have those thoughts and judgments about you, irrespective of what you're doing, right? You could be doing an absolute stellar job, hitting it out of the park every time, and there will still be people who are hating on you, who are going to judge you and have an opinion about how you could have done it better. That's always going to happen. And the same is true when you're screwing up. People will have their judgments, their thoughts. And you need to coach yourself to a place where you realize that other people's opinion of you is none of your business. Do not get involved in other people's judgments of you. You are never going to win. You can't control their minds. So all you can do is focus your energy on what's within your control. And anyone that leads in any industry at any level is subject to judgment. And in fact, any human is subject to that. So just accept it for what it is and focus on your area of control, which is what you can do, how you can show up, and let go of everyone else, right? Stop worrying about them and focus on you. And then if you're concerned about screwing up, if your mind goes into catastrophizing what could happen, then I really want you to think about it. What is the worst thing that could happen? Let your mind go there. Play with it. Now, most of the time when we actually look at this, we realize that the worst thing that can happen is really not that bad. Or the likelihood of it happening is so minute that the risk isn't that great. And then add on top of that, we can start to think about how can we mitigate the risks? Like understand all of the risks, all of the elements that need to go wrong in order to have a worst case scenario, and then start to plan for them. What support do you need? What alternative ways are there of doing things? Get creative and just brainstorm out all the possibilities, but actually put this on paper. Go through this exercise. I'll link to a worksheet in the show notes, which is about defining your fears. And it's really helpful just to put this all on paper and to really explore our worst case scenarios that we run in our own minds. And I learned this from Tim Ferriss, and it's something that has really stuck with me because it allows me to just get hold of my emotions, get hold of my fears and my concerns, and create a plan that moves me forward instead of being stuck in a worst case scenario that is never going to happen. And that is always the key, is to keep moving forward. And the other part of that is also think about what is the best case scenario? What if everything goes right? What would the outcome be then? And this is so important because when we don't take risks, when we don't show up and take that next step, we fail outright. It's called an avoidance failure. We give ourselves zero chance of ever succeeding because we avoid it altogether, right? That avoidance failure, that is a critical mistake because it never allows us to step up. It never allows us to grow or reach our potential. It keeps you stuck exactly where you are with no possibility to ever have more impact or earn more money or have more fulfillment and joy. So don't allow yourself to avoid these things. Accept that you need to get your hands dirty. You can't get better at the game by simply being a spectator. You need to be out there. And the other thing is when we don't take risks, when we don't show up vulnerable to try things, it also costs us. So think about that. What is it costing me to stay safe right now? And I want to give you a few examples of this. So one is it's costing your salary, right? It is actually costing you money. If you are waiting till you can tick every box to take that next move in your career, you are shortchanging yourself. And honestly, I want that money in your pocket. I want that money in your bank account, in your super. Because think of all that opportunity that gives for you personally, for your family, for the causes that you care about. So think about that. Think about that personal financial impact to you by not taking that next step in your career. And also think about the fact that that salary growth compounds year on year. So earning another 20, 30, 40K this year means that you're earning that also next year and the year after. And consider that next step for your career, you are supposed to learn how to do it. Like you aren't supposed to go into it knowing everything. You're supposed to go into it with the characteristics of someone who will figure it out. That is the most important thing. That is what people hire for. It's potential, not simply experience. So keep that in mind. Now, the other ways it impacts you is your professional growth and your development. You need to be pushing yourself in order to grow. And, there's a saying around, there's no such thing around maintenance. If you're not growing, you're going backwards. And I think that's true in our careers. And I think there's certainly periods where we don't want to be in big growth spurts. But I think for the majority of the time, we need to be pushing ourselves. We need to be moving forward in order to keep up with the market, in order to have the opportunities presented to us. even if they're little steps to get better at what we do. Keep honing in on those opportunities to try things, to explore things, and get more comfortable with risk-taking in general, because that's a really important part of being a leader, is being able to make calculated risks and being able to make informed decisions, right? You're not always going to get it right. That's okay. No one ever does. And the truth is, there's generally never a clear-cut right decision, but there are decisions that move us closer to achieving outcomes. And that's what we're always trying to go for. And with that comes that risk of failure. And that's okay. We just need to know that's what we're doing. And the other thing I just want to touch on is, this idea of staying safe also costs us our identity, right? It keeps us stuck in being who we are today, and it stops us from growing into the person we want to be. And that's so important because it's always a growth process. We never just wake up one day and think, oh my God, I've got all my shit together. I am ready to rule the world. That is not how it happens. How it happens is you decide right now, I am going to be in control of my destiny. I'm going to get better and better until I can absolutely create the results and the impact in the world that I want to. And I'm going to take one step right now, right? It might be a little step, right? Where the risk is minimal, where the potential for failure doesn't seem high or the consequences are low, right? If that's where you need to start there. Or it might be that bigger move, right? One that really makes you uncomfortable, where, you could screw up. And then you go through that process of mitigating risks, getting support, considering your options, and knowing that it is a journey and having your own back in that process. Because until we have our own back and until we are willing to embrace failure as a way to grow, we will never become the version of ourselves that we dream of being. We will never have the career that we aspire to unless we are willing to take the risks and practice failure. And, failure is like a muscle. The more you work it, the better you are, the stronger you are, the more resilient you are. And the more you learn through every failure, through every screw up, and keep using that information to propel you forward to the career that you dream of. Okay, my lovelies, I'm leaving you there. Keep practicing failure, right? Get good at it. Go and fail at something today, okay? Go and fail at something today. Report back. But have a beautiful day. Thank you for being here. I will see you next time.
Thanks for joining me on the Building Up Women in Property podcast. If you'd like to learn more about what I do, head over to Instagram. I'm at Beautiful Disruptions, and reach out if you want to connect. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.